Okay, so ready to dive into a really captivating case.
Absolutely.
The story of Stephen Stayner. It's like one of those stories, the kind that just grabs you, vanishes, gone, poof, 7 years, then boom, reappears with another missing kid. Crazy, right?
Yeah, and what makes it so fascinating, so disturbing, it's like the dark side of ordinary places,
Yeah,
Small towns, dot families,
yeah.
the secrets hidden beneath the surface.
Exactly. And we're using this episode of a true crime podcast as our main source. So,
Right, so we're getting it all as it happened.
yeah, all the twists and turns straight from the source. So we start in Merced, California. Picture this: almond orchards dot peach groves, gateway to Yosemite. Sounds idyllic, right?
Tasteful, safe.
Exactly. But like dot safe can be deceiving.
Definitely. That contrast, right?
Yeah.
The idyllic setting, the horrific events, it reminds us that these things can happen anywhere.
Chilling.
Yes.
So the Stayner family, they lived in Merced. Stephen, 7 years old, loved being outdoors, but they'd recently moved from a farm to like suburbia.
Our big change.
Huge. And he wasn't adjusting well.
I was thinking about that. That sense of displacement, to being uprooted.
Yeah.
Could it have made him more vulnerable?
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, it's definitely something to think about. Then, December 1972, rainy afternoon, Stephen's walking home from school. Usually he'd walk with his older brother, but not that day. He was alone, and he just vanished.
And the initial response,
Yeah.
or lack thereof, it's telling, isn't it?
It really is.
The mindset back then, kidnapping not in their own town. Inconceivable almost. They just assumed he'd run away.
Right, and that's the tragedy. Lost time. Every minute counts. His mom, Kay, she figured he was at a friend's house. Hours went by. Frantic calls, searching. Finally, they call the police.
So much lost time.
Tragic.
Yeah, just clinging to hope. Any sliver of hope. Even psychics.
Psychics.
Wow.
Desperation, grasping at straws. We still see that today, don't we? Wanting easy answers, even when .logic says.
Exactly. And then, the truth, chilling, he was kidnapped by a man named Kenneth Parnell, a man of the past, a dark past, crimes, offenses against children. And that's the turning point, isn't it? The story shifts. This isn't just a lost kid. This is something much darker.
Parnell used this trick, religious pamphlets. Offered Stephen a ride home, said he asked his mom for a donation.
Playing on trust. Innocent.
Was preying on it. And it worked. Stephen got in the car, and that was it.
Gone.
Gone. Parnell. He told Stephen this lie, said his parents didn't want him anymore. Can you imagine?
Cruel. Calculated. Isolating and breaking those bonds. Classic abuser tactic.
Yeah. He created this new identity for Stephen, called him Dennis Parnell, moved constantly, different schools.
Keeping him off balance.
Yeah, disconnected.
Making it harder to escape, to even think about escaping.
It gets worse. Parnell was involved with this woman, Barbara Matthias, and, well, the podcast details the abuse from both of them.
A network of abuse, enabling each other. Horrific.
And
for 7 years. 7 years Stephen lived this nightmare. Until...
Yeah.
Well, until Parnell made another decision, a fateful decision. He decided to kidnap another child. 7 years. Stephen's a captive. And then, another tragedy. Parnell kidnaps 5-year-old Timmy White.
So picture this. Stephen's still a kid himself, right? He's told to take care of Timmy. And he sees it. Parnell's cruelty toward this little boy. And something clicks. He can't let this happen again.
Amazing. After all that, the abuse, the manipulation, his empathy, it's still there. He's protecting someone even more vulnerable.
Incredible act of courage, right? Parnell's at work. Stephen, he makes a run for it with Timmy.
He walks away.
Miles through the night, 2 kids just walking to safety.
Wow. The resilience, after all that time, he still wanted freedom for himself and for Timmy.
Can you imagine arriving at the police station, Ukiah Police Station, just showing up, a kid missing for 7 years with another missing kid?
A moment of pure disbelief, I imagine. Especially for Timmy's family.
Oh, absolutely. Relief, joy, tears, and shock, total shock. Parnell's arrested. And everyone who knew him, they're floored. He was just this average guy. He even brought Stephen around, introduced him as his son, Dennis.
Blending in. That's how they do it, isn't it? Predators. They hide in plain sight. So, important to be vigilant. Watch for those red flags, even when everything seems normal.
And then the investigation. Parnell's past, it all comes out. Criminal history, car theft, impersonating a police officer. Even a prior conviction, kidnapping, sexually assaulting a young boy.
A history, a pattern, diagnosed as a sexual psychopath. committed to a mental hospital, and then released. How does that happen? The system.
It failed.
It failed to protect these children.
Unbelievable, right? And then there's Irvin Murphy, the guy Stephen initially wouldn't identify. He's arrested, too.
Another layer to this. Complicity. Manipulation. Where's the line? Was he a willing participant or a victim himself? Tough questions.
Yeah. The investigation, it was a mess. Multiple jurisdictions. Parnell moved around so much, evidence mishandled, and get this, reluctance to pursue sexual abuse charges.
Okay, wow.
The statute of limitations in California back then, 3 years. So they could only charge him for the recent assaults, even though 2 years of abuse.
So he wouldn't be held accountable for everything.
Exactly. A loophole, a tragic loophole, Stephen's case. It helped change things, reform. But too late for him.
So frustrating. The system failing again, protecting the abuser almost.
Yeah. And protecting Stephen from further trauma or silencing him. It's a complicated issue.
It is. So the trials, Parnell, Murphy, kidnapping, child stealing.
Stephen, he had to face Parnell in court, testify, relive it all, imagine. The strength.
Unbelievable to face your abuser as a child. Just wow.
Idiot frenzy, of course. Parnell trying to deflect blame, but the evidence, it was overwhelming, guilty, but then the sentencing. Here's where it gets infuriating. Again.
Oh no, what happened?
A technicality. The sentences, they couldn't be served consecutively, so kidnapping 2 children, years of captivity, and he gets a light sentence.
No, that's not justice.
Public outrage, demands for change, and it did lead to reform. But again, too late for Stephen.
Right, and Stephen. How did he cope after all that?
He went back to school, tried to rebuild his life, but it wasn't easy. Bullying, trauma, his family struggling.
The scars, they don't just disappear, do they? Even when free.
They don't, but he was resilient. He advocated for missing children, trained in martial arts. He wouldn't be a victim again.
It's a symbol of hope, taking back control.
And tragedy. At 24, motorcycle accident, he's gone.
Oh no, so young. After everything.
It's
devastating.
Yeah.
His legacy, it lives on, right? Raising awareness, inspiring others.
It's just heartbreaking, you know, all that he went through. Then it's gone, so young. And the story, it isn't even over. Parnell, he gets parole.
Paroled. After all that.
5 years. 5 years for kidnapping Stephen. And get this, he gets a job at a boys' home.
Are you serious? A boys' home? That's unbelievable. Yeah. The system. Yeah. Failing again. And again.
Public outcry, of course. He lost the job pretty quickly, but it makes you wonder, right? And then, 2003, Parnell's arrested again.
Again? What happened?
Trying to buy a child. He's in his 70s. Dot ill, but still those predatory instincts.
It's chilling. Like it never went away. Sure. The desire, the compulsion.
A sting operation. They had him on tape, talking about wanting a young boy. Even mentioned wanting a girl later. Sickening.
At least this time they got him. For good.
Yeah. He died in prison in 2008. And Timmy White, he became a deputy sheriff, dedicated to kidnapping prevention, turning his trauma into something positive, helping others. But tragedy again. He died in 2010, pulmonary embolism, 35 years old.
So sad.
Yeah.
He deserved so much more, but he made a difference, right? He turned his pain into purpose.
He did, and there's a statue in Merced, Applegate Park. Stephen and Timmy. Holding hands.
A symbol of hope, resilience, reminder that even in the darkest times.
Exactly. So where does that leave us? This case, it's more than just survival. It's trauma, resilience, justice, and the lack of it. Hope and despair. It's complicated.
It really is. It makes you think about the monsters among us, the cracks in the system, how we can do better, protect children, support victims.
It's a call to action, isn't it? We need to learn from this. Advocate for stronger laws, better support systems.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power. We need to understand these issues to protect the vulnerable.
We encourage you to learn more. There are books, documentaries, so much more to explore about this case and the bigger issue of child abduction. The more we learn, the more we can do to make a difference.
To protect children.
Exactly. It's on all of us. That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.